Hey there, Brandon here, and welcome to another episode of Stack and Scale. And today we're back with another walkthrough. We're talking about OpenClaw because everyone is right now, right? And this is actually what I've been wanting to do for a while because the guest I have on is Koka Sexton. And if you don't know Koka, back in the day when social selling was a big thing, he was one of the first people, and I learned a lot about social selling from Koka himself. And him and I have been in touch for the last probably 10 years now at this point. And he showed, this is probably a few months ago, he was showing me some of the cool stuff that he was doing with make.com. And I was like, okay, I got to get you on the show. And then a week or two ago, I was like, okay, we got to do this. We got to actually record the show now. And he goes, yeah, you know what? I'll show you the make.com stuff, but I got to show you the stuff I've been doing with OpenClaw. It's mind blowing. And he'll walk us through exactly how he took some of the stuff that he's been doing manually and that he's been doing with make.com. And now he's automating everything and more with OpenClaw. So this is an episode on the longer side because we actually do go into some of the stuff and workflows he's built within make.com, and then we transition over to OpenClaw. So it's the longest episode that we've had yet, but probably the most action-packed one we've had. So without further ado, let's kick it over to the conversation I had with Koka Sexton. Koka, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to chat with you today. I mean, initially we talked about looking at some of the make stuff that you've been making because I'm a big fan of just like those workflows in general. But then over the last few weeks, OpenClaw's just blown up and you've gone super deep and this is like the next evolution. So tell me what you're going to show us today.
Well, I'm going to walk you through a whole lot of stuff. It's basically the evolution of how I've gotten to where I'm at with the whole AI like methods. The impetus was this initially when I was working at agencies of trying to find ways that most marketers are always struggling with how to do more with less. And not even just for myself, but even for the clients where budgets being cut, people were leaving, whatever the case may be, they had to do more with less. And the only way to do that in my brain was to find ways to automate systems and to build things that could be used by these companies to basically scale their efforts without having to hire a bunch of people, get a bunch of contractors, whatever it is, build systems. The systems usually started off with content because that's kind of my background. So it was a lot of blog posts, ebooks, social posts. But it became very clear early on that this do more with less. Most CMOs, most heads of marketing are only interested in driving pipeline. All the other stuff is great, you need it, but at the end of the day, pipeline needs to be coming in the door. This other stuff is just kind of fluff, which I agree with.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like as a general rule, I'm a marketer that believes in pipelines.
Yep.
So outside of how do these systems work and how do you create the stuff and how do you then capture the intent signals, how do you generate the leads from this activity in some way? And there's lots of ways of going about it. I mean, you have Clays, you have the Apollos, you have the other ways of building lists. And one of the systems that I put in place that works really well for me and for people that I put in place with is basically mining their social engagement, like specifically on LinkedIn. And there's lots of use cases for it, but though I won't get ahead of myself. Let me walk through.
You're one of the OGs on LinkedIn, man.
Yeah,
Like,
I am. I don't remember what my member number is. You used to know it by looking at your LinkedIn profile URL, but yeah, I'm sure you can still find these numbers. But I was earlier on. I wasn't one of the earlier people, but I was definitely one of the earlier people in the sales context. My background was in sales that used LinkedIn to build my pipeline, which got me fired from one job really early on when I started doing this because they were like, this isn't going to fly. Dial for dollars all day, every day. Stay off of LinkedIn. Oh, yeah. LinkedIn was basically, they wanted to block it, but they realized they shouldn't because there's other use cases for it. But they really did not like the fact that I was building my entire book of business on LinkedIn and I never called a lead that marketing handed to me. And that was a very big point of contention in that company, which in retrospect, I get it, but I had a vision.
Funny story because so I don't know if you know this about me, but my first job was an SDR and then I was in sales for a little bit myself. And I started building my own little profile on Facebook because we were doing more B2C stuff and in communities in Facebook. And they're like, no, you can't do that. You can't. This gives you an unfair advantage. I was like, well, what the fuck do other people do it then? Like, well, you tell me to stop doing it. Like, what are you doing?
Exactly. The whole idea of connecting with decision makers on LinkedIn and then building like relationships and building pipeline from it was so foreign because every manager thought LinkedIn was only for when you were looking for a job. And every manager back then thought that if you had a LinkedIn profile and you were sharing stuff, that all your competitors were just going to be scraping all that stuff anyway. And so at some point, like the world grew up, and I think everybody, the social selling movement kind of has run its course. It's still kind of a thing, but as I always felt, like social selling is just sales now. And that's all it was ever supposed to be. It was just a new way of doing it. And I think it's become much more widely adopted and commonplace than it used to be. But that earlier idea of using social, like how do I use technology to do my job better, has just been kind of a driving force in everything, which is kind of what's led us to this even call today.
Yeah, love
So
it, love it.
let me share my screen really quick and I'll start walking through some stuff.
Cool.
All right. So we can cover a lot. I'm going to kind of go through some evolution here, and I'll go through some details into some of these systems and platforms that I work in on a regular basis.
Yep.
I'll go into details, and then I'll kind of show this evolution to where we're at with a lot of this AI that we're seeing. So this is make.com. It is like an automation platform. It's very similar to like a Zapier or a lot of people know like N8N. I like to call this, Zapier on steroids. I used to be a big fan of Zapier because as a marketer, you're always having to integrate systems to do things and move information from one place to another. Zapier is amazing for that. But it always fell short when it came to long chain automations, at least for me. And when I was introduced to Make, I figured, hey, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to try to automate some stuff. And as you can tell, like I've got a lot of automations in here now. But in the beginning, it was just like, it was only like 2 or 3. There was a couple content ones, a couple email ones, and then as I learned more and experimented more, I found different ways to use this that have actually become like cheat codes. So I've got everything from, I'll just kind of run through this list and I'll go into some specifics. Okay. But I have this one right here is transcribe. So I have a Dropbox folder that's just called transcriptions. And I will literally make voice notes on my phone. And I will then send it to that Dropbox folder, and this automation runs every 30 minutes, grabs that transcript, and then based off of a AI prompt that I have, it reviews the transcript and then creates a document for me that extrapolates out whatever that idea was, the thought process, whatever it is, and creates a document for me. So I do it for my own voice text, and then I also will find like a video from Brandon on TikTok giving some great information on how to use Clay. And I'll be like, I kind of get it, but not really. I'll take that video, I'll drop it into the same system, and the AI will then extrapolate it out and literally give me step-by-step how to do these things. So it's kind of a multi-purpose tool. I use it all the time. It was one of the very first things I built. In fact, you can see it, like 2023. Like that's when I built it because I was like, I need to figure this thing out. The other ones start going into content, sharing on social. This whole Airtable to social was a large, in fact, I'll open it up really quick. It's a beast. But basically, this is my Hootsuite buffer kind of automation. Everything starts at an Airtable database. I'll go through some of these details and kind of dig into these. And then based off of whatever channel it's going to go through. So my social selling page, my LinkedIn personal page, I have an AI directories company page because I got a site that just has a bunch of AI tools in it. Yep. So depending on what Airtable classifies it as in the system, it just goes whatever route and gets pushed out onto that channel. All right. And this is what the back end of that system looks like. Oh, this is one of the images.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay.
Yeah. So like literally this is it. So it's got a schedule date as a link, and then depending on what channel it goes through, if it is an idea, it's just an idea. If it's posted, it usually has a link to where it was shared. This is all automated. And if I want it to go, I just set it to approved, and that thing will poll every so often. If it finds something that's approved within the time frame for the schedule date, it sends it off and posts whatever's in the copy. And if there's an image attached, it attaches the image. And so I can basically build my entire social calendar for multiple company pages and my personal LinkedIn, as well as Facebook and Twitter. It's all connected into this from one Airtable database. Okay. Nice. Yeah. It's really fun to be able to use it this way. So that's this automation. As I was building these out, especially at agencies and working with lots of different small, mid-sized companies, they need all this help. They need quick ways of moving leads in, capturing leads, generating emails, like things that basically just remove these business owners, these founders from being their own bottleneck,
Yeah.
right? Which is part of the problem. So I've got systems to do a bunch of things, but now I'm going to drill into a couple that I use on a regular basis, right?
Perfect.
So I run these, if not every day, every few days. These are automations specifically built to grab LinkedIn signals. And this is kind of what I was talking about before, that there's a lot of talk about signals or finding entry points to a conversation. You know, is it a job change? Is it acquisition? Did they, you know, just get promoted? Whatever it is. Like there's signals that we're all looking for, right? This is the social selling 101 kind of where Sales Navigator really became a thing, was because it could pick up on these triggers. Shout out to Sales Navigator. The problem with those tools, like the existing kind of network tools, are that you're not getting all the information that you want. It's interesting. Like I know my SSI score. I can see when people are changing jobs. I can set up alerts. But okay, now what do I do with that information? There's a whole nother business that gets built out. Like people are successful, like helping people navigate. Now, what do you do? Now that you've got this alert, you got this information, how do you send the email? How do you reach out to people? Like the whole self-selling, like consulting, like Morgan Ingram, shout out to that guy too. Like they've mastered the system and then they're training how to best use that data.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I found as I was going through was, well, I could look for all these job changes and stuff, but those are still kind of outside of the box signals because now everybody's looking for them.
Yeah.
You know, you got a billion people using Sales Navigator and they're all looking at who's got a job change. Now this person, every time they change a job, they're going to get 75 in-mails and emails and everything else, right? It's just the nature of the beast. So I was like, how can I get even more refined into an interested party? Well, the first thing was, well, who's liking and engaging with my posts? Because if I post something and you like it or you comment on it, there's a good chance that we either need to be connected, or if we are connected, that maybe there's a longer conversation on whatever that topic is.
Yep.
And so my thought process was, I'm going to build a system that's going to export down all of the comments and everything that I'm posting, all the engagement. And then what happens is, so if I use this, so this is the automation.
Okay.
Basically, it uses Appify. It's a marketplace for tools. So I use one called the LinkedIn Profile Post Scraper. It pulls the 40 most recent posts, and I use my URL. And then it can pull up to 50, even though it's held at 40. There's that. Then it sleeps. So it takes a while to pull all 40. So that's all running in the background. So I let it sleep for about 30 seconds or so that data can actually get brought into the tool. And then this module literally just pulls the data out. So this one's actually running it, and then this one's going to extract it into a JSON format. This then takes that file, segments it out, and then drops it into Airtable into these. So I'll get the content of the post, the date, and I'll show you I'll run this really quick to show you what it looks like live. But I basically start pulling all this information into Airtable.
Are you running this really on every single post, or is it this
I
is
only
post
run
related it to the things I do? Run it on this post, or
so this one right here is set up to run. It basically it looks at my profile and says, what are the 40 most recent posts?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it looks at everything. You can get specific. I can say, here's one post I want you to pull, and it'll do it just as easy.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Right. So this one pulls it all, it dumps it all into here. So I'll have the link to the post. It gives it a status out the gate. You can tell like it's got, here, I'll open this up. So here's a link to the post.
Yep.
Here's the post itself. This is what I shared.
Yeah, okay.
Links and all. It tells me how many likes it had at the time that I pulled this, how many comments, how many shares, total engagement. It basically calculates this for me. So now I have a running list of everything I've shared for the past, several months because I run this thing so often.
Yeah.
And then then the next step is, okay, well, who am I looking for in all of this? Well, if I get a certain number of likes and comments, like 60 likes, 50 likes, I have a second automation that kind of runs on the back end. that then looks at those posts. If I set it to enrich, so again, going back to the status here, once it's complete, if I set it to enrich, this thing will see it because that's what it's looking for. And then it runs through a second automation, which will then look at that individual post. So it's looking at that live link. So the initial plan was, hey, just show me everything Koka shared in the last 30 days.
Yep.
Here's all the links. Now it's like, hey, here's some interesting things that he shared that had high engagement. Now go look deep into each of those links, right? So it was looking at my profile. Now it's looking at the individual links. It's going to pull the last 10 comments. It's going to look at the last 5 posts. It's going to pull 10 reactions. All these numbers are variables. If I had 100 comments or 100 likes, I can update this or whatever it is. It runs through, it sleeps because it needs to pull all the information. Again, it dumps that data in here. This is just an aggregator. It segments the data, and then it starts adding all that information into a tab here. So all that to be said, I'm going to run these, and so I'm going to show you what both of these look like together, because that's what Stack and Scale is all about.
You know it.
All right, so run it once. So it ran. It's looking 40 on my profile. This is going to sleep for a minute. You can just go, speed through this part of the video. Just speed through it because it's going to sleep for a minute as it pulls all the data.
Okay, well, while it's doing that, okay, one question for you. So, as you know, I'm.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! Okay, here we go.
Oh, nice! It's already going.
It's running.
Oh, look at that! Nice.
Yeah. And now all of those are just getting dumped into here.
Over to your Airtable, yep.
And if I say sort by list, where's my export? Operation 1.
Nice.
Likes, comments. So like this is the data itself, and then so there should be 40 of these. All the posts. It's getting added to social post tracker under social posts. Yep. And then all the information. So inside of here, this is it right here. These are all the posts. So like it took a minute for it to update because it was doing the dump. But if I scroll down far enough, you're going to see, here's the ones that we were just looking at.
Yeah. Right.
So now
and if you run it, it's not going to duplicate. It's like we already got
right.
This one. We don't.
Yes, because if you're running it the way I run it, it's gonna know where the last record was, and it's gonna go grab the next 40 or whatever is available.
Nice. Okay.
So here's all the posts. You can see when I publish it. So yesterday's is in here. I got 4 likes, but this one's really interesting because it's got 65 likes. So it's 72 total engagement. What was this post? Let me open this up. Shut away from claiming I coined social selling. So it was a social selling post. Got a bunch of likes, bunch of engagement. And now if I go to this 65 and I go to enrich, so now it's enriched. And if I go to this automation, usually these things are just turned on. So like this every 15 minutes would be on. So it's just polling. But for the sake of Stack and Scale, we're doing it manually so I can force it through the process. Yeah. So now it's marked as enriched. And now if I hit run, it's going to find that enriched one. I'm going to guess that it's the same one. Let's find out. We had not so, I don't know. There's a few enrichments in there, but regardless, it's running through. What it's going to do is it's going to looking at those individual posts. It's then going to start pulling all of the individual people who commented and liked on that post, right? And so that's what it's doing now. So it did that. It's now pulling the information for those individual companies. It's then going to enrich it. It's going to drop it in here. And so what ends up happening is I have my list of everything that I've shared. This is everything I share online on LinkedIn. And it's going to start enriching this right here with everybody who is liked. These are going to be the names of the people who are engaging with my content.
Nice. Okay. Can you, from this view, can you see which post they engaged?
Yeah. See, watch. You're seeing it happen live right now as these things are bubbling.
A LinkedIn profile.
It's good. It's going to run slow. Here, if I come back here, like you see it, it takes a minute for each one. It's already updated. Yeah. It's updated 2 records. So the John Mears, John Mears and Perzulia Nazarova. Um, so that's going to be, I'm guessing these two people, right? John Mears, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
All right, and then this because of the demo of this, it's going to pull everything, but you can tell like so. John Mears, the go-to-market at a company called Phantom Buster. Here's his LinkedIn profile. In fact, here, let me open this up so we can see it all. So he works Phantom Buster. This is his role. Here's the link to his LinkedIn profile, his LinkedIn headline, his number of followers. This is the post that he commented on. So if I want to know how like where the reference points. Yep. And what did he do? So was it a thumbs up? Was it a clap? Was it a praise? Whatever that is, like it captures.
Yep.
Because these are also interesting segmentations based on how they reacted. Because everybody can give a thumbs up, but if somebody takes the time to hover over it and give it an insight or give it a I care or whatever it is, like it means something. It's a micro signal to something, right? So it all matters. So we delineate what was done. It gets their company LinkedIn profile, and then where they're located. So United Kingdom, photo URL, and then a list of this individual skills, a summary of the person, and then a live link to the post, right?
Anything from their LinkedIn can be scraped and pulled in. Yep, that makes sense.
So you get all this information, and then you can kind of deliver from here how you want to reach out to them. You can just open the profile, send them an email. You can take these profiles and then put them into another automation that enriches them further. There's still more coming in. So like Rebecca Wilson here, brand new penetration tester at X, 28 follower account. That seems sus, but whatever. But yeah, so you can tell it's getting everyone. And what you're able to do, like for companies, what I end up doing is in this phase, I start adding filters that, hey, like this company is only interested in businesses in the United States. So it'll actually run a filter that says, if country does not equal United States, just throw it away. It just throws it in one of these buckets. And so it actually starts filtering out the filters of what's happening. It makes it even easier.
I like it. Talk to me about like the cost to run all these things. Like within Clay, everyone's always concerned about using up all their Clay credits, and you can easily run way over on your Clay credits. How does payment and kind of like, is it a credit system or is it by run?
Yeah.
How does that work?
So for make.com, it's a monthly fee. I think I don't know what it is now. I think I'm paying like $10 or $12 a month because I've been using it for years. Like I've been grandfathered in on some really early pricing that they had, and I've just been grandfathered in. Nice. So it's not as expensive. And in reality, I think I get 10,000 operations, which are basically 10,000 triggers or 14,000 triggers. But even if I run through them, 14,000, even if I run through them, which it looks like I might be trending to do, if I wanted to buy extra credits,
it's easy to do.
1,000 credits is 63 cents.
Oh, dang.
Like this is not a cost prohibitive app to use. It's a technically prohibitive app. Like you just have to understand how to use it. Like that's the load. Cost isn't the issue on Make. But again, like this is just using Make. So if you're using other APIs, so like ChatGPT's OpenAI or Claude or Perplexity that you saw in some of those things, all of those APIs have their own costs. But again, it's not very expensive. To give you just some context, for one client, we were producing between 25 to 30 blog posts a month using these systems, where it was doing research, writing the blog post, and basically it was the final product that it was producing. There was like a once over from a human, but outside of that, it was a blog post that was perfectly written and formatted and ready to go. Human would look over it, make sure that there wasn't anything weird in it, and they would just publish it.
Yep.
For 30 blog posts a month for this one client, with everything that I just explained, we were billing out about $7 in API costs.
Oh gosh, dang.
Charging the client, because it was so not cost prohibitive. We had some clients that were willing to spend $7,000 to $10,000 a month because that's what they were used to spending for an agency to create this content. And then we were able to grab 5 to 6 new clients because they were like, oh, you're spending $7,000 a month. How about if you spent 700 a month for the exact same outputs? And they were like, all right, test
Of
it
course.
and
Yeah.
see what works. And we would test it because again, we could run a test for $3 and their minds would be blown, and then we would get new contracts, right? So these automations really do change everything if you know how to use them. And as everybody's been saying for at least the last few years, the prompt and the context, what you add into it, is what really matters the most.
Yeah.
What you put into it is what you get out of it. Okay, so the cost, like I think all in for what I'm doing with the content and things like that. I mean, it might be between the make.com and some of these other things, like it's like 50, $60 a month, and I'm running my entire operation off of this.
Yeah, that's wild.
Right? Oh, look, you're looking more. More are coming in. There's Keith Gill. Good old Keith Gill. Right? So it's just going to keep pulling, and it's going to start pulling all these contacts in from those posts. So that's one layer. This works really well for an individual like me. It works really well for a marketing team that's trying to track like their own company posts and things like that. That's another use case. Yep. We had one client that was like, hey, my executive team is trying to be more social. How do we track that? Well, we would set the system up to pull all of their individual socials. And then on a weekly basis, you can be like, here's what's working and here's what's not. Here's the things that they shared. Here's the times that they shared. Like we can do the analysis based off of all this information and give you the leads that are coming from the engagements on those things, right? Like it was a win-win across the board. Yep. So that's the social post tracker.
Okay, talk to me now about the evolution, because now you're all in on, Claude Code, and then now, now more so OpenClaw.
Well, so this then led through a whole series of explosions in my head, which led me into actually using tools like Bolt to do vibe coding, right? Because I was like, hey, I can build automations. Let me see if I can build an app around my automation, which then turned into Signal Scout, which is basically everything I just showed you. But it's an AI that's built on an app so that it automates the entire process to provide you with whatever insights you want on whoever you're scanning. So that led into that, which then turned into its own app. And as I was building this, somebody that I was also introduced to, side note, late last year, I made a commitment to just start reaching out to more of my network. I've got, 40,000 connections on LinkedIn. I mean, a lot of them probably don't matter, but there's a lot that do. And there's a lot of people like you, for example, that I just hadn't touched with in years. And so I've been actively going through and like reconnecting with people. One of those people saw what I was doing with all of this on LinkedIn, was like, hey, we should talk, and said, hey, if you think that you're having a good time with ChatGPT and with Bolt, let me introduce you to the next superpower, which was OpenAI's Codex, or Claude Code, which is with Anthropic's version of it.
Wait, so and is Tim this guy, or is Tim Hillis?
No. This is like somebody else. No. This is just.
I know Tim Hillis.
I'm just giving you. No, I'm just giving you. These are just people that I've run scans on. Yeah.
Like, I didn't know Tim. Okay, got it.
Yeah. No, not Tim. So like this basically, like I want to see what their engagement rates are. I want to see, what they're sharing. So like for Tim, like he's got a 22% engagement rate. Here's everybody that engages with all of his posts. Again, it's all the stuff that I just showed in the automations, but in a visual context. Right? And so people really love this for a lot of different reasons, but it's a much more visual representation of the automation that I was building because I had to create something, right? So when I was building this, one of my connections reached out and was like, hey, Koka, I saw your post. Would love, let's just jump on a call. I want to show you some stuff. He introduced me to Codex, which was OpenAI's kind of back-end terminal-led, let me see if I even have it open, like a terminal-led like chatbot, right? So this is Claude right here. If I go here and I just write Codex, like it's going to launch Codex.
There you go, exactly.
And so I was basically running, it's like, this is going to be your next superpower. Use this the same way that you use ChatGPT, but it's going to have access to your local machine. It has access to your GitHub repos, all the stuff that an AI should have, and it's going to build it all for you.
Yep.
Once he told me that and showed me that, it unlocked a whole nother superpower, because now I wasn't relying on Bolt.com credits, right? Because those are really, really expensive. Like I was, it's really expensive, but it works, but it's expensive. I can now use Codex, which just uses my $20 a month OpenAI, credit, my subscription. I just piggyback off of it, and I had tens of millions of credits to use in Codex. And Codex is a better model to use than whatever Bolt's using. It will just uses less credits, so it wasn't as expensive.
Yeah.
So I could build the prototype in Bolt, and then I use Codex on the in the terminal side of things to make all the edits. Now let's introduce Claude Code and OpenClaw. So this unlocked a whole superpower where I could just chat with things. Like I can say to this, so this is Codex. And Codex understands my computer. I built skills, so I can say, let's get up to speed. Let's get up to speed on the CRM. So it's like a trigger word for it. So now it's going to know, oh, he wants me to work on the CRM. It's going to go through all of its knowledge, and it's going to find everything related to the CRM project stuff that we were working on. And it's going to let me know at some seconds that it has what it needs. And then once it has that, so it's got a captain's log. So I created something called the captain's log. I'm not a Trekkie, but I always love the idea of him just sitting in that chair and be like, hey, captain's log, blah, 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 and just giving an update. So I created a captain's log inside of Codex so that I can basically create a pseudo memory.
Yeah.
Because now it references the captain's log to see if there are breadcrumbs or artifacts that it should learn from in the process.
And was setting Codex up just as easy as setting Claude Code up? I've never set up Codex, but I recently.
It's basically the same thing. If you are somewhat familiar with a, hold on 1 second. I'm just making sure. Sometimes it doesn't do it often, but this is one of the things your friend was talking about. Like every now and then you're running this thing and it like gives your API key in the string, and you're like, dude, I didn't need to stream that right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, no API keys in it. We're good. Okay. So what this will do is it now understands everything about my CRM, what my goal is, what I'm trying to do, and I say just get up to speed. And so it's get up to speed. So now it knows how many contacts. It knows exactly what Airtable base I want it to use. I use ClickUp as project management. So it's all plugged in. It knows it all. Right? And so then what I could do is just go in here and be like, hey, I want you to do this, or I want you to do this. And then Codex would just know what to do. Well, then fast forward to last week when my mind was blown again when I started seeing things in Instagram and everywhere else around OpenClaw. And I was like, what is OpenClaw? Had 7 different names before they landed on OpenClaw.
Yeah,
but exactly. OpenClaw is where it's at now. And I was like, all right, I need to figure this out. So then I got into OpenClaw. And let me see here really quick. Okay, this is going to be a little bit more weird because I never know when it's going to show an API key because it's just sitting on my own machine.
Yeah, we can always blur that out pretty
easy. We always blur it out and edit it out, and I'll call it out, so we'll get through it. So okay, cool. OpenClaw is a platform that sits on top of whatever agentic system you're using. So it was designed for Claude Code, but you can set this thing up to run off of any model you want. I have it connected to both OpenAI's and Claude because I have paid accounts on both. And so when I burn through all my Claude credits, I just flip the switch and now I burn through all my OpenAI credits. And by the time that's done, my Claude one's open up again and I can just go back and forth. And on top of that, I added in DeepSeek, Gemini Flash. I've got Nano Banana. I added other ones in here. This I also added this little module. This wasn't out of the box. I had OpenClaw edit the code to add this in there because as much as it can throttle, I wanted to be able to throttle this thing on my own. So I can add all the models, and OpenClaw being as smart as it is, and we'll get to that in a second, it knows, oh, this question means that I need to analyze 30 rows of CRM data. I need model X. Oh, he just wants me to write a bunch of emails to these people. I need this one, right? So OpenClaw knows. It has a knowledge around this kind of stuff. What's really scary is that it actually anticipates things and it learns, which is where I think a lot of the concern comes from that we hear about because people just open this thing up to the world. And what's next within this, right? Like if this is what it can do. So just as an example, this is my bot. I call it Lola. There's a whole nother story to that we won't get into here.
Okay.
But so Lola is my chatbot. And so the first thing I did when I set up OpenClaw was you connect this thing to your Discord, to your Slack, oh, any other kind of platform. I just use it on the web app for the most part. I mean, I have it on Discord, but like I don't use my phone to chat with this thing, but you can.
Yeah.
Um, and what I basically did was I spent the first 2 hours setting up what it's called its soul. So there's a soul file. And I had all of this information. I had personality tests that I run. So I have like my Myers-Briggs documents. I took
Okay.
a couple really interesting personality tests when I worked at LinkedIn. Like, I mean, it was like a booklet that they gave you after you ask 100 questions. Like, it was one of the most insightful. It's called Insights. One of those insightful documents I've ever read. I still use it on a regular basis
Oh,
to
nice.
like just check myself.
Yep.
I took that. I had my resume, I had my LinkedIn information, and I had a couple other pieces in a folder. And I was like, hey, CloudBot or OpenClaw, here's a folder, has a bunch of information. I need you to mirror me as much as possible
Mm,
in your personality. And it basically read it all. And within a minute, it's like, hey, here's what you do. Here's what it is.
mm.
Here's how I think I can help you. And I was like, what do you mean? Here's how you think you can help me? Like, I literally just asked it to read it so it can align on like do's and don'ts and how I feel about things and like all this other stuff. But it made the very right out the gate. It was like, and here's how I'm going to help you. You are the type of person who can't get out of your own way. You need a COO. You need somebody that's going to look at what you're doing and is going to put things into action behind the scenes so that all you need to do is do your job. And I was like, yes, okay. How are you going to do that? And it's like, I'm going to need permissions. I'm going to need access to your email, to this. And I was like, well, let's give you some ground rules. You can never send an email on without my explicit permission. Like literally, I have to say, send email to Joe if that's the case. It's not, oh, you can send some emails if you want. Like that's too vague. Like it has to be explicit for this person,
Yep.
for this AI to send something externally.
But
And
does
you
that
can't
not also
spend,
set it up to like, because I heard one recently that all the emails got deleted. So it's like, don't delete any
right.
emails
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it's like,
Don't delete anything. Don't for the first, like initially, I just want you to be on a fact finding mission. I don't want you to actually do anything. I just want you to learn all the stuff. Go through my inbox, go through my site folders, go through the tags that I have, understand the type of things that I read, and da da da.
mm,
Like one of the first things that it found was, hey, you read, there's 75 newsletters going into your inbox. Would you like me to, yeah, 75 newsletters. Would you like me to synthesize that every morning for you so you get the top articles in one place? And I was like, yes, please. So now I get that every morning. Uh, and then as I was giving, I was like, and don't spend any money. I was like, you can spend like I gave it like a $3 a day max because you want it to test things. I want it to feel its way out. Again, it's weird to talk about an AI like this, but in the sense that it's going to be learning things. I wanted it to have some latitude, but I want to put guardrails behind it, and this is what the soul file did. And so I basically just opened it up and was like, here's my documents folder. Here's my computer for the most part.
mm,
Tell me what you can figure out. It did all of that. We aligned on what was allowed, what wasn't allowed. I had it ask me a bunch of questions. Like I got the soul. That's what took the most time, hours. And then I said, now let's start doing stuff. How are you going to help me? Well, you need a CRM. I was like, you're right. I do need a CRM. Um, and I was like, but where do I find like I have these contacts. I exported my LinkedIn data. Everybody can export their LinkedIn data, right? And inside that export, one of those files is called connections. All it has is a first name, last name. I think it might have a title in the headline and their LinkedIn profile. It used to give you phone number, email, just a bunch of stuff. They've tampered that, but at least you get like the first name, last name, LinkedIn profile. That's all I needed. So I said, hey, Lola, here's the file name. I basically just pointed it to the file on my downloads folder and said, run. Tell me what you can do. So 40,000 connections. It created, it had Airtable access. It had an API access in Airtable.
okay.
Created my CRM. So 40,000 connections. It then found, of those 40,000, I think there's a 10,400 ICP level connections that I have. It pulled all of them into this, and then based off of whatever level of enrichment or data that we had on them, systematically started going through and enriching the data. So there's 10,400. Here's all the LinkedIn profiles. Here's all their information. I got their company. I get some business emails. Because it's my LinkedIn data, when was the last time I sent an email to this person? So there's some people in here that I haven't talked to since 2023. And so this is where I'm going off and reaching out to people. I'm like, you're in my ICP, and I've been last night I messaged you in 2023. Like, let's just see what's going on. Like, let's just
Yeah,
chat,
exactly.
right? So it triggers off of this to figure out. It creates a dossier. It creates an email
Nice.
template
Okay.
for me.
Yep.
It gives me an in-mail. It tells me when we were connected. So it's just another data point that I can trigger off of when it's creating in-mails. Day since last, full name, photo, level of connection. So most of these are first, but there's going to be some seconds in here as well. The number of followers, connections, because one of the other things was I want to know who all my influencers are. Who am I connected with that has over 5,000, 7,000 followers? There we go. We got 29,000, 28,000. Like these are all people that I probably just want to keep in contact with in some way, shape, or form. Like they're influencers, right? And then I basically just had an AI just started dumping it all in here and telling me how to segment these lists. And so I would be like, all right, I just need my ICP that I've covered. I need ICPs with no contact information. I want there's another automation. Who's viewed my profile? That was a mystery. I love who viewed my profile. It was my go-to when I was in sales. It was my go-to when it was social selling 101. Who's viewed my profile? I woke up every morning and said, who's looked at my profile? Well, now what I'm able to do, there's nothing in here because it actions it fairly quickly. It looks at everyone who's viewed my profile, pulls all that information, dumps it in here, quickly decides if they're qualified or not qualified based on ICP. If they're qualified, it puts them into a bucket where I then can start reaching out to them. And it builds a whole nother sequence around it. And so again, let me just reiterate. All of this is happening because I told this chatbot to update my CRM. That's all I did.
Wild.
Right?
Okay, well, uh, hopefully people get a good sense of what this can do. If people want to get started, like people like myself, I told you over the weekend I was going to do it, and then I chickened out because a friend of mine was like, "There's so many security vulnerabilities. Don't do it. Don't do it."
So
how would you actually tell someone to get started?
So I would there are concerns, and there's definitely malicious people out there, especially at the speed of how fast this is going. So installing the app from OpenClaw's website, safest bet. They're not going to screw around. Like their installs are going to be good. So go to OpenClaw's website, install from there. I would maybe go, like there were a couple skill level sets that I pulled off of other like GitHub repos or something.
Okay, cool.
But there's like a handful of skills that come right out of the box when you install this thing. And there was maybe like 2 or 3 that I wanted to add. Like there's one that allows for multi-threaded chats. So literally I can, like, how many subagents can you run? So the idea of a subagent is I ask a question, it's going to run and answer the question. A subagent is, hey, I have a question. It extrapolates out 5 other questions from that question because it's like, oh, that's interesting. Let me figure this out. And it's going to literally like create sub-agents answering all of those questions to then come back and say, here's the final answer, which is what a sub-agent does. So if I say no hard cap, best practice, keep it usually 2 to 4 concurrent sub-agents. So like there was one skill that I added that just basically taught this thing how to run things on its own while it's thinking about other stuff. And then that was it. So outside of that, I haven't installed any other outside skills. And I think that's where a lot of these issues are coming from because people are injecting malicious code and stuff into these skills and then uploading it to a marketplace. And somebody's like, oh, I need that skill. And the next thing you know, they've corrupted everything.
Yeah.
So what I do and have been doing is I'm like, oh, I need a new skill on writing cold emails. Or I need a new skill on creating landing pages. I will go to Perplexity and put it into thinking mode. So it's like the more in-depth stuff. And I will write a prompt saying, I want to know every best practice and piece of information around topic X with examples and links to best practices. And then it gives me that file. And then I basically drop that into Codex and say, here's your new SOP, which leads me to the next thing. Because of all the things that it's learning, I use Notion. And so I was like, every day, Lola needs to give me a daily brief. What did you do yesterday? How many tokens were spent? You need to tell me how you're being efficient. And so now Lola will come in and like every day I get a couple different reports. So I get my executive daily report, which says what was being done. So, ClickUp OS rebuild, task migrations, Notion research. Like this is all the stuff that this thing is doing without me even knowing about it in most cases. It's just an update. And then I can do system upgrades, like what was done on the system updates in the defense log that opens. So this is what was done. It creates all this for me. So basically audit trails. So I can just look at this. So this is the reports. And then I was like, hey, you've got a lot of skills. We're doing a lot of fun stuff. Where are your SOPs? And it's like, it's got it all in its memory. I was like, no. I need an SOP that I can read and tell you where you're wrong. And it was like, hey, why don't we just create your SOP library in Notion? And so that's what this is. So everything that the AI does, and then a few other things, there are SOPs that are now built for it. So I have an SOP around running through all my Notion files. I mean, there's thousands of files in my Notion. I use it as like a bookmark folder, basically. Yeah. And it goes off and finds every prompt library, every prompt mention, every prompt best practice, every prompt on how to do X, Y, or Z. It's going through and finding all of them. It's building me a golden prompt pack that I'll be able to offer up, right? So it's doing all that in the background. So every day it's doing a little bit more. So OCR, so it's basically building SOPs for everything that I need done. And then like the bulletproof CRM, this was one of the more recent ones where we basically said, hey, this is how you operate in my CRM. You're gonna use Appify, you're gonna enrich it, here's the fields, here's the mapping, here's everything that's gonna work. Right? This is what we know is gonna do it. And so it knows. All of this is happening in the background. So when it needs to enrich something, it looks at this SOP, says what's worked, and it starts creating stuff. Nice. Then I connected it with ClickUp, which is my task manager. And so you'll see two names. So there's Agent Lola, and then there's me. I gave Lola her own email address, basically my own Gmail, but so my personal email, and then you just add a dot and add whatever you want afterwards, right? Or plus or whatever. Plus, yeah. So like it's my email plus Lola at gmail.com. Yep. That's her own email address. She accesses all my Gmail already, so now she's looking for those. And then I can send her emails, she can look at it, but I can now go into a task, and so there's a dashboard that I want her to update. So I would literally just create a task for the AI in ClickUp, and I'm like, hey, this is what I want you to do. I need you to update, create 5 to 7 updated dashboard ideas for me. And then I'll assign it to Lola. And then at some point tonight, she's going to go through this and she's going to answer. So if I go, let's find one of these where she had actually chatted back. I don't remember. But anyway, she's scanning these things. She's responding to these things. She's basically running through all of these things as I'm doing them. And then she set up my ClickUp in a way that, like, I just had lists. And it was like, nope, not going to work. I'm your COO. This is how we're going to move things forward. We're going to create a revenue category, a career category, a growth category, and an internal category, and then a knowledge-based category. So revenue is, how am I finding new clients? Who am I going to meet with? How am I going to move these deals through? What kind of offers am I going to have? Like, these are all revenue-driving activities. So consulting and clients, all the tasks will fall in there. Career, hey, are the companies hiring out there that I might want to work with? It's going to go through, it's going to build that up. It's actually looking in my email for every time I get a job posting on LinkedIn or Indeed or, hey, Koka, you might be interested in this role. It's scanning all of that, looking at what I want to do, and only saying, hey, you got 75 job emails. Here are the 2 jobs you might actually be interested in. Like, it's adding that here. So it's not over-inundating me. It's literally removing the bottleneck. It's like, hey, get rid of all the noise. Here's 2 signals you need to look at. Growth, things that I want to do, either in the product or whatever it may be, and then all the internal stuff, which is executive approvals, where she wants me to spend more money or she wants me to do something. She has to get explicit approval for stuff. Like, so there's pitch templates and other low deliverables. So that's like, I want to spend $20 on testing this app or whatever it is. It'll know. It knows, hey, I got $20. I'm going to buy this app. And then in 3 weeks, I'm going to cancel it so that you don't get charged. Right, whatever it is, like it does all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so now, so now the bot basically manages my entire life, my career. It knows based off of how often I'm sending emails. Like, hey, Koka, we had tasks for you to send out 30 emails yesterday. You only got through 10. I'm going to go through the next few days and limit them to 10 because it only seems like you can only get through 10 at a time. Like, it's learning from that and adjusting it so that it's optimizing to whatever my work is, whatever I'm able to handle. It really is mind blowing.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm back on I know what I'm doing this weekend now.
But But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think it's, I don't know if it's the autism or if it's the ADD or a combination of both. But like, I get really into the weeds on this stuff. I love building these things. I love learning
Yeah.
these things. And I love showing them to people and teaching people how to use them. Uh, but like, it's like every week I have another epiphany. Like, oh my God, again, like another thing I can do. Like it's happening so fast now. It's like almost exhausting.
Yeah. Oh no, 100% is right. Like, yeah. As soon as I felt behind with Claude Code, and just a few weeks ago, I was like, okay, I really got to dive into this now, and I dove in, and obviously a lot of fun. And now it's like, oh shit, now I'm behind with OpenClaw.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
what's going to be here next week? Like I can
That's
only
right.
imagine what's going to happen. Like they're going to have like I think what's going to happen because I'm already seeing it if you look at the repos on GitHub for OpenClaw because it's all open source, you
Yep.
can see all the forks, the people who are building off of it. So people are creating OpenClaw specifically for video. So like
Mm.
that entire application is optimized for just creating AI video. It's not going to go off and write my emails or everything else. Like its skills and everything is baked around one use case. And so I think we're going to start seeing that happening.
Nice. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, well, any last pieces of advice for people who now want to get started with OpenClaw?
Um, be cautious with it, but I always believe that like you have to have some risk in order to grow.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
make sure you have the parameters in place. And honestly, like what it still blows my mind as I keep saying, but like what it can do is almost unlimited. What it's been able to do for me that I think has gotten me so fired up is everything I've ever struggled with from a career standpoint of who do I reach out to or what do I need to say to them or how often should I read like all of those introverted things that I've always struggled with. This thing it knows all of those gaps and it's like let me just make this as easy for you. I'm gonna remove you from any of the bottlenecks. I'm gonna make this one click for you. Just let's meet. It's like let's just be successful and it's just
yeah.
gonna go do it.
Yep. Yeah, and I think a lot of I mean, I'm like you. I try to connect and reconnect with people all the time, and yeah, people are asking me, or people tell me like, I don't know what Claude Code can do, or I don't know. In the early days, it was like, I don't know what kind of custom GPTs I should build, and
Right.
every time it's just like, well, just go ask it, like go ask it
Yes.
what it can do for you with and I'm guessing in this case too, go ask OpenClaw what it can do for you based on what you know about me.
So literally, that's what I did. So after I
Yep.
connected it, I gave it all this context, and I gave it all this these files, these CSVs, and like my database and everything else. I was like, literally ask it based off everything you already know, and me being the bottleneck, and you wanting to remove that friction. Give me 5 ways that you can help me this week, and it thinks, and it comes back, and it's like, here's what I'm going to do. And I was like,
Yep.
that would be amazing if you pull that off, and it
Yep.
does it.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I tell people like, don't be
I
afraid to
don't.
ask AI how
Yeah,
you can use AI.
don't be afraid. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid. I don't. I think that going the doom and gloom. Like obviously, people are losing jobs. We're seeing it everywhere.
Hmm.
Companies laying off thousands and thousands of people. We're in some weird recalibration of the workforce
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. I still believe that the entry level role is going to be the one that struggles the most. Because why do I need an entry level anything when I can have OpenClaw do 90% of that, right? You need middle
Exactly.
managers, you need somebody at the top. Like I think a lot of that needs to get figured out because it does
Yeah.
concern me, but there's going to be so many people that need to have jobs.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not going to replace your job. Like I think you need to learn how to use this. Like my mentality has always
100%.
been, even from the early agency part of just automating emails and like getting people pissed off with billable time and like how that's affecting people's work. Like the fact that you can get a superpower from this, and the more you learn from it, the more you learn how to use it and how to leverage it. Like I'm not I'm not concerned about AI taking my job
I'm not.
because
Yeah. Yeah.
I
You got to
right.
stay on top of it.
It- you have to stay on top of it, just like every other discipline in your career. Like, you just have to, and this one just seems to move really, really fast, which is
That's
kind of the
wild.
daunting part.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, if people are not on it now, they better get on it.
Yeah, I mean, you start with some some just Chat GPT, then creating some custom GPTs to have a very specific use case, mean, if you want, you can go into the automation route. Like that was the evolution I took. You
Yep.
custom GPTs, automations, and then now it's off to the races with like a customized chatbot around exactly what I need.
Yep, exactly. Well, Koka, I really appreciate you joining us and showing some of the stuff that you've been building. Where can people find out more about you? I know the answer to this. It's obviously
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, so find me on LinkedIn. I'm very easy to find. So just Coka Sexton on LinkedIn. CokaSexton.com is the website. It covers a lot of the stuff. It also has some other resources there that people might be interested in. I have a whole list of like custom GPTs that I've built that are on there as well, and then some of the apps that I built that they can take a look at.
Nice. Well, I'm sure you'll get plenty of outreach from people's bots to connect with you.
Yeah,
And
yeah. The bots talking to bots is going to be like the next level, I think.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Have you go into Moltbook at all yet?
So yes, I have, and I think
Yeah.
it is a hilarious social experiment how that whole
Yeah.
thing's happening,
Exactly.
right? But like that's like, if that's a lens into like what's going to happen in the next few years, like it's really scary.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's a whole nother universe. What that
Yeah.
is. All right. Well,
But
thanks
hey, I
again,
think
Coca.
thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks. All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.